Hey everybody, it's Dr. Funk with Rehab to Perform. I'm here with another one of your frequently asked questions. This week's question: what kind of decision making goes into helping an athlete return to sport? I will typically think of three different buckets, but this is a very, very complex answer and one that we are still continually refining our processes on. These three buckets would be a physical testing bucket, it would be psychological testing, and then it would be some kind of performance-oriented metric that would compare them to their peers. So let's start with the physical testing side of things, or objective testing. In that particular area, we are going to look at symmetry, often a 90 or 95% of the being that injured leg to the non-injured leg. That would be a step in that bucket. And then another one would be, hey, are we hitting certain norms that we're expecting that individual could be potentially in comparison to their height or the length of their limbs. But obviously symmetry, if at a deficit compared to where we would expect them to be, that could also still be a risk factor for that individual. So objective testing could include Y-balance testing, hop testing, or other metrics that we would be able to do in the PT place, before then also addressing the psychological things, which in our world we'll use what's called a return to sport index. It was popularized by the ACL-RSI. This looks specifically at questions that go through the psychological readiness or perceived readiness of the athlete that we're working with. So by having them answer certain questions, we'll get a better idea on a 0 to 100 scale about whether or not they psychologically are in the right place to return to sport and aren't potentially fear-avoided or fearful of re-injury. And then that third bucket being these performance metrics. This could be everything from say a 40-yard dash, a vertical jump, some kind of weightlifting metric. But ideally, we would need to have that data before the injury, trying to get them back to some level or potentially even at a higher level than they were pre-injury. But comparison of some of those more sports-focused or weight room-focused metrics being a good barometer for whether or not that athlete is actually returned to prior level. So 3 different buckets, right? We've got this more objective testing bucket. That stuff typically you'll see done in a rehabilitation facility. You have the psychological side of things. We'll base a lot of that off the ACL-RSI and kind of use that with regards to other areas of the body, not just people with knee injuries. And then that third bucket being a comparison of where that athlete was pre-injury to where they are now, to ensure that they have actually returned to a level in which they are used to, so that they can go back and play that sport with more confidence. But we feel that if we hit each of those 3 different buckets, we're putting that athlete in as good of a situation to be successful as possible.